So I'm going to talk now about, talk a little bit about unpacking our heritage collections here at the Rotorua Library. Am I loud enough? So first of all, the purpose of our, actually let me go back. This is on the second floor of this library. So the mezzanine floor there is the first floor, and there's another floor above us. Those beautiful, the beautiful art pieces on either side of the door, that doorway there, they were done by John Scudder. And as you can see, it's got a lot of features of Rotorua. The thermal area, it's got the arches there, some of the wood features on this side, the library where you can see those books. So it's a beautiful piece of art which leads you directly through those double doors into our Don Stafford room. This is where our heritage collections are, on the second floor. So first of all, the purpose behind keeping heritage collections is for our library. It is to collect, to preserve, and to share. Those are the three main reasons why we have heritage collections. And what exactly do we collect, preserve, and share? The unique stories about Rotorua people, places, and events of our Te Aroha and Rotorua communities. Items that we collect for these collections are done in various ways. We either purchase them as newly published, they may be purchased as second-hand, or copies of originals, or as Chris alluded to, we are very grateful for donations. We preserve our collections by providing a stable environment for the material, and also we have procedures for looking after and using the material so that we can preserve them for as long as we can. Sharing what we have in our collections and the story that is related to the material is essential for us. By doing this, we let people know what we have, about the history here, and about how they can have access to that story. Please excuse my voice. Maybe get a little bit ratty as I continue on. So why do we keep them? One of the reasons why we keep them is for their research value. 2 is to develop and grow our local history narratives. 3 is to enable access to this knowledge both in the library and outside of our library walls. And finally, it is to link the past to the present. I think that's important when you're telling a story, when you're collecting stories, is to have that link to when they were written and the time that they were written and how they can apply to us today. This item shows the places that a tourist might have visited in the late 1800s to early 1900s. So it is made up of mostly photographs and images. Our collections are a mix of primary resources and secondary source material. Primary sources are written by those who have had first-hand evidence about an event. For example, in this book, written by Olive Pedler, The History of Te Aroha, this text is hand-typed, as you can see in the bottom image. It is a mixture of interviews, photographs, and notes containing memories on the eruption of Mount Tarawera. It is a very fragile item, so that it's kept in what we call a glass case, which is at the back of the Don Stafford room. This is an example from our archives. This is also primary material. The archives is made up mainly of primary material. This is an example from the Rotary Club of Rotorua. The top image is a register of the members from 1927 to 1958, and the bottom photograph is a brochure from 1965 of the 10th Annual Rotary Conference. So, secondary material sources. The majority of our heritage collections are made up of secondary sources. Researchers use our primary sources to provide evidence about how and why local events happened, as in these two books, one written by Don Stafford, by Gordon L., about Rotorua and its people. So, the archive that we have is a community archive. The difference that it is from an institutional archive is that these are mostly donated from the community, about the community, from local organisations, groups and individuals. We don't keep in our library the material that, for example, that the archives at the council would keep. This is more, they have a statutory responsibility to keep some records for a certain amount of time. A community archive doesn't really do that. We keep what we get donated, and we collect material with continuing value to the Rotorua Library and its community that we are located in. So that's our primary reason for collecting in our archives. This collection of greeting cards is from a donation by Norma Evans, who has passed on now. But they give us a snapshot of how and what people use to correspond with each other. Not a lot is done this way using these greeting cards, no. So there are no text emojis, no Instagram, Facebook or Twitter available back then. This is what they used, and this is a great example of just a snapshot of what it was like in the past. We also have, as Chris talked about, what we call obsolete technology. So, first of all, obsolete technology. One, it's obsolete to us because we don't have the machines to actually get the material from that is on this technology. So, hands up those who last saw a cassette recorder. All very few hands. Walkmans, VHS video recorders, all of those, that technology, it is very hard to get now. And even if we got it, we would have to get something to play it on so that people could view it. So, why do we keep them? Again, this is material like this is an opportunity for us to digitise it. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So for me, when I look at these things, it's not such a distant past memory. We also have manuscripts like this. These manuscripts are from the Don Stafford donation. They ended up in a work published by him titled Landmarks of Te Ahurei. So all of the original work that he did, I don't know how much of it ended up in the published work, but this is a manuscript that went into that published work. So we're going to move on to talking about our heritage collections now. The archive we class as one of our heritage collections. So, the Rotorua Heritage Collection. It's a permanent collection. It focuses on the development of the local community with both current and historical significance. Some of the subjects covered in this collection include geothermal, forestry, volcanism and tourism. In Warbrick's, the book on the left, written by Alfred Warbrick in 1934, he recalls guide Kate Middlemiss sharing a memory about bathing him as an infant in one of the White Terraces. So that's just one of the special stories that you can find in some of this material. The second item, galvanised to succeed, is historical fiction. So they've taken facts, it is based on facts, but is written as a piece of fiction. However, the immediate family, the Danzy, of the two main characters are real. The Danzy family are part of the history of Rotorua. So that's who the immediate family of that author is. We don't actively collect photographs and postcards for the Heritage Collection. The Rotorua Museum have significant collections of these. So if we need access to some of that material, we just chat amongst ourselves to get that. The Te Ahurei Collection. It has historical significance to Te Ahurei people, places and events. The collection also places Te Ahurei in the broader context of New Zealand history. Works by authors that are of Te Ahurei descent on any topic, including non-fiction, fiction, children's and self-published works, we collect comprehensively. Why do we do that? So local authors are given priority as their works often contain information that those outside of the local whānau, hapu and iwi don't have access to, and the authors are willing to share that knowledge. So a couple of examples illustrate this. This first book, written by Raimanga Inia e Oho, in it he states that he used oral narratives and family manuscripts that were shared and made public. So that is awesome. I couldn't have got it, I'm not from Te Ahurei, but through Raimanga, we are able to have that information. In Mitchell's book, Ngāti Whakaue, A History, he acknowledges his great-great-grandfather, Hamuera Pango, who recorded the history of Ngāti Whakaue in journals and given to the Native Land Court. Both of these items were donated. So, I'm going to keep on about donations and how grateful we are to get them. Also in the Te Ahurei Collection are these books about our Te Ahurei chief Tūhurangi. They are written in a style that children can read and are written by Ngarepo Eparaima and Rangitihi Penny. All of the authors that I've mentioned here today have spent a lot of time using our resources in the Don Stafford Group, and we are happy to let them. The Maori Heritage Collection comprehensively covers subjects related to Maori people, places and events. I'm going to do a bit of a brag here. And in saying this, I stand on the shoulders of previous librarians who have put this collection together. We have had a lot of people comment on the scope of our Māori collection, and I find that very encouraging that we're on the right track, and that my previous colleagues got it right from the beginning. It's awesome. This item here contains copies of the text from the Treaty of Waitangi. It's a mix of single pages, but there are some larger pages that fold out. And for those of you who can read that old handwriting, you're more than welcome to have a bit of a look at it because it is difficult to read. The New Zealand Heritage Collection are published works with material covering subjects related to New Zealand. This atlas is from 1960. It shows a range of statistics for different regions in New Zealand. We try to ensure that the material for both of these collections have evidential value to researchers and students and covers both current and historical works. Again, these collections are made up of purchased material, also items that are selected from our current non-fiction lending collections that are transferred into these collections, and donations as well. Suggestions from patrons are considered on a base-by-base basis, and some suggestions eventually become a priority title to purchase. There are gaps in our heritage collections. For example, the bulk of our primary source material is in the archives, with a smaller portion in our heritage collections. Our plan is to increase the amount of primary sources in our heritage collections with a focus on Te Arawa and Rotorua. The type of material that we will focus on acquiring includes materials such as personal documents. Access is a challenge to these collections. First, the archive material you can view the actual record of it. You will be able to view in time on our website via the catalogue. That project is underway at the moment. But to view the original material, you will still have to come into the library via a staff member and use it within the library. So that is a challenge. Second, the heritage material can only be used in the Don Stafford room upstairs. The benefit, however, of this, and there is one benefit, is that the material will always be there and you will always be able to use it. It's not going anywhere, people can't read it. The stable environment helps with preservation, and some of the material in our heritage collections have a lending copy that you can take out. So the future, for us, it's digitisation. Creating a digital copy of something like this. Paper material is what we have a lot of, and then we have a few pieces of obsolete technology that I showed you before. But it's creating a digital copy, but still keeping the originals. For the library, it's about accessibility, and it's about sharing what we have. Digitising material can also help to preserve the original copy. Our original works, especially in our heritage collections, some of those items are out of print and are very hard to find. So they help to preserve those for longer. I was once asked, it was a few years back now, if I had a goal for the heritage and research area in the library, what would it be? And my reply was to share Rotorua and Te Arawa's story with the world. An online platform is where we can do this, where we can host these treasures that we digitised. This image here is taken from Kite Rotorua. The future of it is unknown at the moment. We're not quite sure how long it's going to last. So a lot of our material that has been digitised is on this platform. So this is just an example of where you can put digitised material so that anybody, anywhere, anytime can use it and have access to it.